So in this lesson, we are going to learn how to measure our gauge. So we knit a scarf. It is this very long, lovely scarf. And I have a pattern written for how to make this exact scarf. But how do you know that the yarn you're using and the needles you're using are going to be used together to make a scarf that matches this exact size? What we need to do is to measure with a little tape measure and do a little bit of math. So what we're going to do is measure what's called a gauge swatch. Now to measure your gauge, you're going to knit a swatch on your needles, and you want to aim for it to be about a 4" by 4" swatch that you knit, and that's going to be kind of your sample. And from that, you're going to be measuring how many stitches it took you to get across the 4 inches and how many rows it took you to do the 4 inches top to bottom. So to do an example, we're going to take this entire scarf, but what I'm going to do is measure just 4 inches across. So if you can see the stitches, you see that one in this entire row, one of those horizontal bumps is a stitch, and slightly below it, a second horizontal bump is a stitch also in that row. So now we are going to use something small like a needle tip or a pencil or something like that. We're going to hold our 0 onto our first stitch. We're going to work our way across. So we're going to start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now I'm going to very carefully work my way over here. I'm at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So it takes 31 stitches to knit 4 inches. So you're going to want to write that down. And now you're going to measure the exact same thing, except you're going to be measuring rows. Now what's important to remember is that we knit in garter stitch. So remember from our how to count rows video that I posted, each little ridge here is actually 2 rows. So we are going to be counting by 2s. So we're going to find a row and find that top stitch of it, not starting from the bottom, the top stitch. We're going to hold it here, and we are going to find the next spot where our 4 inches ends. And we're going to count by 2s for this one. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32 rows in 4 inches. So when you're reading a pattern, the pattern will usually say what the gauge is. The gauge means exactly that. In a 4" by 4" swatch, that is the number of rows you will get, and that is the number of stitches you will get. If you do a gauge swatch and the numbers are incorrect, then you're going to want to change your needle size. You're going to want to either go up a needle size if your gauge is too tight. For example, if that was 32 rows and you are getting 28 rows, you need to go up 1 needle size and try that. And then if your gauge is too big, if you're getting 36 rows, then you need to go down 1 needle size and try that. Now when you're measuring a gauge swatch, it's more important that your gauge matches when you're doing something that's more fitted like sweaters or knit socks. But something like a scarf, you have a little bit more wiggle room, so you don't need to be quite as exact, but it is something that you're going to want to learn how to do, because when you get to those projects, when you're knitting a hat or a headband, it's going to matter that the fit is right. So you don't end up with something that's way too big or way too small, and you don't know until you're all the way done and finish that project.